Hello, my friend. Welcome to another episode of the Lux Saigon podcast. This time, Nick is joined by his uncle Hugo for an amazing conversation about maintaining a happy long term relationship. Uncle Hugo is proof that happy marriages do in fact exist, which is surprising due to the fact of how he got married in the first place. We hope this episode is helpful for our listeners. Merry Christmas, Mother Flowers.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Lux Saigon. I'm here with my Tio Hugo, my uncle. I've known him since I was a kid, probably since before I can even remember. Right, Tio?
That's right. I actually was very close to your dad growing up. Yeah, we were like just a few months away, months of separating as far as age goes. But yeah, goes all the way back to Peru. Yeah.
That's amazing. And the purpose of this conversation today, well, I was just thinking about long-term relationships and marriage and stuff. Like, I'm 33 now, right? Just like, how do people maintain happy long-term relationships? Because I've seen many people in marriages, but they seem miserable. But when I think of someone with a happy marriage, like, the first person that came to mind was you, because of the conversation in Peru, actually.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So well, hopefully I can live up to social media expectations. I think that I think that nowadays it's much easier to kind of present certain persona out there in the world, especially with social media. But yeah, I mean, I would say that I've been fortunate on that front. It's not just been me. It's a bit of luck, I would say. Also, definitely hard work, but also got lucky to find somebody that was willing to go on a long journey with me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can we go to the beginning? Like, how did you meet Tia Betty?
So this is back in high school, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so at the time, as you know, we were just transitioning from Peru into living in Virginia, complete 180 from, I think at the time I was way too young to realize how much of a change that was going to be in my life. So when we came here, I probably was already here for 2 years before I met her. I met her as she wasn't even going to one of the classes with me. She just happened to know chemistry, and chemistry, was one of those subjects that it was never really one of those things that I felt like I was not good at. So, I found somebody to study with, and it happened to be her. And then one thing led to another, and one day just I missed the school bus, and and we just started walking the same direction. I noticed that she was walking. It's like, I think I know you, and that became a bunch of conversations on the way back to school, from school to my place, and her house used to be on the way there. So for about a mile or so, we used to walk, and she was a good listener. Yeah. Obviously, like as time went on, I would say that we kind of were going through at the time both of our lives were kind of going through a lot of changes, including myself, and kind of it was pretty easy for me to start opening up about my own stuff. I would say that beyond maybe at the time your Uncle Miguel or Eduardo, I really never really spoke about my problems outside the family. And I was very apprehensive, because of all the different things going on at the time, to open up to anybody. So Betty, my wife, happened to be one of the first few human beings in this world that I kind of started sharing intimate stuff about what happened and how did I migrated from Peru to here, and all the other things that came at the same time, basically, and the big shock that it was just to be here. In retrospective, between us, at the time I really didn't want to be here. I I think I was too naive to think that, I was definitely not mature enough to understand the consequences of what it was to migrate to a whole new country.
Mhm.
I really, I mean, my parents, they kind of did a lot for me to study the language. So by the time I came here, I was already kind of ahead on that. But the culture was a complete culture shock, very
Right.
different than I expected. I think that at the time, I don't know about you, but kind of have this like sensation like, oh, you know the culture because you've seen a bunch of movies and you read a bunch of books, and I'm like, nope, it's definitely not the same.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it was kind of nice to see that somebody was not only willing to listen but also gave me really good advice, and we just happened to hit it off, and for a long time we considered each other. I mean, she started to opening up to me and whatnot, and that went on for a good 3 years almost. Um
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Of just being friends.
Yeah, just being friends. I mean, like just talking and sharing stuff, and one thing led to another, and first kiss came. I don't know if it was me or it was her. I will leave it up to her if you want to ever talk to her. I don't know who did the move. I was pretty shy. I've always been shy my whole life. And yeah, I was kind of like I would always overthink the first steps when it came to knowing new people. And this is not just with females or the same thing with guys. I'm very
Mm.
pretty selective with my friendships. I don't have too many friends, but the friends I do have are people that I kind of like keep very close to me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And interestingly enough, one of the things that was very much an attraction for me from her was the fact that she was very different than I was in so many ways,
Mhm.
and it got me to open up to a whole lot of stuff that I wasn't even aware of. Like, I think that when you are hanging out with your friends and you have a lot of things in common, and even you think alike, or you kind of have same same likes, same dislikes, you tend to create a whole lot of blind spots. I think that
Mm.
once you start dealing with people that are similar to you. With Betty being that different, she was able to make me realize a lot of those, blind spots that I think that kind of put on myself because I was dealing with, hanging out with people that were so much like myself. So
Mhm.
that was kind of the first things that I would say that kind of was the first step toward like, wow. So I think that uh, being able to be with somebody that different really kind of it's really the theme of our marriage, I would say.
Wow.
In many ways I've learned since to complement a lot of the deficiencies that we have on each other, like very certain things that she's really good at, and she's also really bad at certain things, and this is kind of like we kind of grown up together. As you can
Mhm.
see, we married very, very young, which is another thing that is very crazy to think about. Between us at the time, I never thought that a marriage would last this long.
Mm.
And honestly, I stopped counting. I don't even know how many years we're married now. I know I have
Cool.
it in but I honestly I'm not counting. I feel like every year we kind of get to find something new, and it's been like that for over 20 years now. There's always something, a new aha moment that I get to have
Wow.
with her. So yeah, yeah.
Wait, how old were you when you guys married?
I was actually just becoming 18 when
Whoa.
yeah, and it was as you probably know, your cousin Michael was born, and we actually decided to get married because of all the legal things that were going on at the time.
Mm.
Like yeah, like it had a lot to do with making sure, how it is in Virginia. For those people that are not from Virginia, at the time in the early 90s, it was still very conservative. So not being married, not having like having insurance and all that really pays off a lot. If you're married, it's much easier to deal with. So we honestly did it at first out of convenience. I would lie to you if I tell you that at the time
Whoa.
it was not a it was on between us. It was almost like an arranged thing between me and her. I'm like, this is the best thing for him. We're gonna be able to help each other. But as the first year went by, I think that it was just so quick because that's what happens when you have kids. Um, yeah, I mean, things started to change quite a bit, and I think that by year two, I was like, yeah, I mean, it was very different. So yeah, that's one thing that is very different. I would say that with me and her is that we didn't plan our our lives. There was no like it all happened out of out of an accident, I would say. And as time went on, we got to realize that we were just right for each other in so many ways, that we just kept on going. And I think that by the time that Michael was a toddler, we knew that we were just gonna be together for the rest of our lives. I think at the time it's kind of
Wow.
and it's funny because at the time, Michael being 3 or 4, we were at the time we're like, should we have another one? And I'm like, well, do we want to do the same thing that our parents did? And we started to kind of question all these things that were like thrown to us by our own families, because at the time I think that point of reference as a family was our own families. And we started to realize that there were a lot of things that were very different. Obviously, the way we started was very different than my side of the family, her side of the family, and in that kind of just little by little, we started creating our own narrative. It was just very different than my when my parents wanted for me, and very different than what her parents wanted for her.
Wow. So it was after you guys had your first kid, my cousin Michael, that then you realized like, oh, this is gonna actually work for long term, for real.
Yeah, because between us, we really, look, at the time, and I don't know how much you know about this, but we kind of really did our best with us, as young, as naive and ignorant we went. We kind of did a good amount of preparation because we knew that it was going to be rough and it was going to be hard, and that the chances of us staying together after year one of having a kid that young were basically like everybody. I mean, if you would have gone to every single professional, I'll tell you, you're gonna get divorced. This is what happens, and that's
Wow.
normal. And we were going against the odds in regards to that, but it didn't happen to us that way. And I think it was a lot to do with us just being willing to grow together. I think that's what it was. So in a way, marrying that young and having so much in common with somebody makes it easier for you to kind of just go along in your journey, as you become a grown up and an adult, and you now have a kid that you have to take care. There's a lot of shared responsibilities where you see how, instead of making it more difficult for the other, it actually make it easier. So I think that kind of made it much easier for us. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I can tell you that is very uncommon, I have other friends that are married, younger or older than myself, and it's very hard to see couples that like that are the same. If you look at them both, they have like the same personality, same thing, and they last forever, because that usually is harder. Eventually there is a almost like a by necessity in a relationship. You eventually end up gravitating toward toward balancing the equation, so to speak, in between two humans, because life is so complex and humans are so complex, so yeah. Yep.
Wait, so you said earlier like there's some things about you and your wife that are different. Is that the personality?
So one of the things that we do have in common is that we do very good when in one-on-one situations. We're pretty much she's 10 times more of an introvert than I am. I think that I have a bit of a social anxiety, and she has a different way to dealing with social anxiety that I do. Yet she probably has even more social anxiety that I do myself. So it's kind of those things that I'm bad at and she's good at. Like for example, she's really good at chemistry. I'm really bad at chemistry. She feels that I'm very good at math, and she's not, but we helped each other on that. But also in the ways that for learning new things, there are different modes of different mechanisms for learning, but her way of learning is definitely not as hands-on as myself. I learned from making mistakes, and she used to be very much of a perfectionist. Like, she was very hard on herself. So having those two extreme kind of, it's not that way, by the way, anymore for both of us, but it kind of really helped us understand, like, wow, if we do it our way, and if I do it my way, it's not going to come out as good if we kind of like tend to listen to each other's feedback on how to do it better. But she's a really good listener, and I think that honestly that really helped me quite a bit. Yeah, my parents my parents were kind of the kind of parents that always were giving advice left and right. I probably got like 6 advices a day from both of them in the daily basis for my entire life. So having to have somebody not do that and instead just letting me kind of figure things on my own, and and telling me, okay, cool, you make the decision, well, how did it work? Instead, it was more like questions, and rather than making, she kind of really in a way helped me stay curious much longer than I have ever been able to do with somebody.
Cool.
I can still do that with her. Sometimes we just go in long conversations on stuff that we started in one thing, and somehow we end up discovering a new thing that we never really touched on, which is always amazing, right? Like, you would think that after almost 30 years of knowing somebody, you get to know everything about somebody, and the answer is probably not. I get to learn something new every time we go into conversations that last over than 30 minutes.
Oh man, that's what I was thinking about recently. Like, I wonder like if it's possible to have a partner that you can talk to about things for like infinity time. Like,
well, I think it's so I know that you like music and whatnot. It's a bit like music or dancing, I would say, like where it requires practice, right? Like there's a a formula that gets to work for you both. And as long as you feed it in a healthy way, and both of the parties get something out of that interaction, then you kind of learn to do it. Some people don't like to do it at all. I can I've seen some friends that I don't talk at all, and you can start seeing that their timing doesn't seem right. Expressing their needs doesn't come up, in a way that kind of sometimes the other person misunderstands. Even showing appreciation or gratitude sometimes, again, right? Like, if you don't have a way, and look, it doesn't have to be verbal, right? It can be written, it can be on text, it can be through notes, it can be in whatever way works for both of you. But I think that as long as you both find what works, then usually it just kind of evolves naturally, I think. Yeah.
it's like my biggest nightmare is like being in a long-term relationship with someone that like I want to have a conversation with them, but our interests are just so different that we can't maintain a conversation.
Yeah, well, that's the part, right? Like, I think that as you grow in your life, you get to find what you get better at knowing and understanding what you like and what you dislike. And it's much easier for you, for you to be able to pick that up from other people. And this happens to everybody. I think that as we get older, we kind of get to know, we already tried a whole lot of different things, and we already kind of have and unfortunately, this is where if you kind of fall in between the lines, then somebody like makes the wrong assumption, just because, oh, so you like, for example, if somebody doesn't like sports at all, and then you just go on a tangent and start talking about how much you like, like watching Peruvian soccer, even though you know that they are probably not doing the best and whatnot. It's like, why you do that? It's because this is part of my name, it's part of my identity. But then if normally what happens is that somebody will shut you off before they go then realize, oh, it's part of your identity. I was like, why? What do you mean by that? And then this is when, and again, right, like this is where that dynamics of the conversation just let you, to get to that point, there has to be a couple things in place, I would say. First, there has to be trust. And second, I would say that you do kind of have to have, I would say what is called like good timing, like, because we're all in different, in our own paths. And sometimes it just happened that, even though you're going probably to similar things, you might not be going through the same stages in your life. And when you find people that are kind of at the same stage where they're looking for somebody, they feel already, they know what works and what they know what doesn't for themselves. And now they're no longer trying to keep themselves happy anymore. And now they're like, I don't need somebody to be happy. But you know what? It would be kind of cool to have somebody that I can have really cool adventures with.
Yeah.
And that's and when you have that type of dynamics on whoever, it might not go too long, but that usually opens the door to go just beyond that first stage where you go, can I trust you a little bit? I'm gonna share with you this, and that's kind of how things get going, I think.
Mm. It's like I feel what I'm experiencing right now is like, yeah, I've taken action, met different people, and now like my conclusion right now for myself is like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what I want. I want this. I've met that person before, but I didn't realize it in that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. It's tough, right? When you know that. But you see the thing about it, and I would say don't be too hard on yourself. I think that this happens to every one of us. That you don't get to. I mean, you are trying. In my opinion, most human beings try to make the best decision in their lives with what they have in front of them.
Exactly.
Not tomorrow, not yesterday, at the moment. And if you are so distracted with and overwhelmed by what's happening you now, you don't pay close attention enough to the person in front of you, and that's when things like this break down. And you are just consumed by your own fears, and you are not ready to really open up to somebody else. And that's really kind of like like in many ways is it blocks a lot of people. I don't even know how your generation, especially like I consider myself an older millennial, but I can tell you that seeing my son and even like Gen Zs, I mean, like, you guys get to know so much about the person that you're about to meet before you have met in front of you. Like, you have social
True.
media together, you got, I mean, like, so much information out there. In the past, it didn't used to be that way. You had to have a bit of courage to just go to a stranger, knock him in the back of the head and go, hey, do you wanna, I know you don't know me, and I, you know for somebody of the opposite sex, or somebody just like, oh wow, who are you? You're a stranger to me. And a lot of people, I mean, I can that doesn't happen anymore, right? Like, it's very rare to see a guy just walk, go into a place and just go to a group of strange, like the females that you don't know, or people that you feel attracted to, and you just go and, hi, my name is Nick. I'd like to, buy your drink. I mean, that's very rare. I don't see that, at least here in the city.
Well, now you are in San Francisco?
Yes. Yeah, we've been living out here now for almost yeah, as a matter of fact, this coming year will be 10 years as of April.
Whoa,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
How would you compare San Francisco to Northern Virginia?
Probably as different as you probably where you're living to what you kind of grew up with. I don't think that and we have family there, as both have, and they have lived their whole life in Virginia.
Yeah.
Because of work, I started traveling quite a bit. I've been in most continents at this point, and little by little, you start realizing that, I'm not saying that Virginia is beautiful. Virginia has so many things. It has family for me. Had a lot of memories for me growing up. Um, if it would not, because I lived in Virginia, I would not have met my wife.
True.
But I would not live there as an adult. That's for sure. At least now I know that, because eventually you get to find what you like and what you dislike about a place. I didn't like. It's so funny how, like, when you move here to. I mean, when I moved here from Peru, I felt like uh, it just felt so different. Like, it was very rigid. Like, as far as social norm was very conservative. And religion was a huge thing. If you didn't go to church, I mean, holy cow! I mean, it was like you were an alien. So it was always like that, and even our families. I mean, like, I never been the religious type. I think that going to Catholic school, young, kind of took that out of me. By the time that I was in third grade, what that would be like 10, equivalent to 10th grade here in the US, I realized that, oh man, I don't feel like religion is the answer for me. So at least it wasn't for me. So I kind of tend to be very agnostic in regards to religion. I don't take that away from anybody, but this is one of the things that I kind of put me off in Virginia, that there's a lot of good stuff, and unfortunately, it's a lot of really bad stuff, because I feel like if you're not Christian, you don't seem to fit in there in most cases. You have to get really lucky with a group of friends if that don't go to church, and that you have things in similarity with. When I came out here with my wife, it was almost like where we been? Why did we come here 20 years ago? Like, so it was seriously the first 3-4 years, it was like that for both of us. I mean, we just found our place. But
Cool.
this wasn't the only place we looked. We kind of looked at Boston, Seattle, LA, San Diego. We kind of like because we knew that our time in Virginia was coming to an end, and we just didn't want to follow the same steps as our parents and live there for the rest of our lives. So we came here as a vacation. I was already working in the Bay Area at the time, and Betty, said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pull the plug. At that point, she was already working 10 years at her job, right out of college, and she quit Merck. Decided to look for jobs, and it took her, like, I swear to you, 2 weeks for her to find and
Nice.
to find a really good job. And I think that also helped us quite a bit. Us both having to do for work something that we truly enjoyed also made a huge difference for both of us. So we
Nice.
already knew what we were good at. We were doing the career that we were, being very, we felt like we were being valued by our employers, and that kind of culminated in a lot of different things that worked out for us.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are living the dream.
Well, it's not all. The thing about it is that there's so yeah, so do we fight? Yes. So yeah, debunk some, do we fight? Yes. Do we have I think that is not like the sense of fighting for fighting. Is for example, is dealing with ambiguity, or having to face a gosh, I mean, trying to find the right words here. It's dealing with the differences, like, I'm trying to think of, like, like a practical way that I can put this. I think that a lot of people tend to not face to disagreements because they just fear that the other person is not gonna like what they're gonna hear. We kind of have found a healthy way to be able to tell what we need. Okay, so maybe put it like, I'm trying to make it so that it's as simple to for anybody that is listening to this to understand. Have you ever heard that like, yeah, for a marriage, you have to be 50-50 and that will work. I call BS on that. It's never 50-50. Nobody in their sane mind is ever gonna give him. As a matter of fact, I agree that nobody every day is gonna be 100%. No, nobody's gonna be at 50%. So what we do, I mean, I try to, in my head, when she comes back from work and I see her demeanor, I see her, the level of energy that she has, what time of the day is. I go, okay, so like, I was like, well, I'm at 60%, you're at 40%, and that's okay. Sometimes, I mean, like, the person is so tired from everything else, not tired of me, but tired of everything else. And I'm like, Hugo, right now I'm at 10%. I'm sorry, we need to find another day to have this discussion. It's like, great. I found that has helped us kind of avoid unnecessary conflicts, but the conflicts that we do get to have, we do it in a healthy way. We're both respecting each other. We're all both, having to, leave each other, say our differences, and just walk through the whole ordeal of not having to agree on everything. Because, yeah, I mean, especially when you have a family, you don't get to agree on everything. on what decisions you do, and when and how you do it. It's always constantly, like, changing. But practice does better, I think. The more often you do it, the little ones, I'm not talking about the big ones. The more often you do the little ones, the easier it gets when you get to encounter a big one. Like,
Yeah.
for example, us moving here was a big one, like, imagine, at the time, Michael was already like starting, was about to go to college. And so it was either there or we wait another 5 years until Michael is out of university to do this. And I'm like, no, we're going to be too old by then. So we got to do it now. So it was tough. It was tough for a lot of different reasons.
Hmm. It's so cool how you guys like happen to learn all of this like marriage or like relationship wisdom. Like, was that just like you learned it during the marriage, or did you like read any books or like watch any
Well, so
content?
that's the one thing that I can tell you, that I know it's very different. If you know my sister, my brother, I love them, but I was always I like reading books, Nick.
Mm.
I probably read on this subject, read about 20 books. I listened
Whoa.
to podcasts quite a bit, but I mean, like from the first, I'm trying to think of the first book I ever read on marriage. Seriously, something very dumb at the time. I think in especially for somebody your generation. I remember reading the Seven Principles for Making the Marriage Work. Or okay, no, the one that is funny is men are from Mars and women are from
Mm.
Venus. I started for my generation at the time. It kind of makes sense. I look back at it. Please, all I can tell you is that not everybody falls in the stereotype. And as a
Mm.
matter of fact, when I read that book, I kind of made me realize that I am not actually the stereotypical male either. I am
Mm.
not. I'm not like a type A personality. I tend to kind of like be behind the scenes kind of person. So that whole thing of describing my feelings and emotions was definitely not a thing that I was somewhere in between. I was
Mm-hmm.
not not what I'm reading in the book. And I'm like, wow, so what if I don't follow that criteria? What
Yeah.
happens to me then? What happens to people? And my wife, the same thing. Betty's the same thing. It's like she's not very talkative at all. And definitely not somebody like a stereotypical girl that just likes to do a lot of like girly stuff. No, I mean she's kind of being like very very much into she's very I wouldn't. She has emotions, of course, like anybody else, but she
Mm-hmm.
tends to kind of be guarded in regards to her
Mm.
feelings and emotions. She doesn't show them very much externally, at least not with people that she's not very close with.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you're
Yeah,
more
but
like a left brain male or a right brain male?
I would say that the left brain. Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both for me, and I can tell
Mm.
you that my the thing with me is that I was a shy guy that was grown, I was brought up to be not shy. I mean, my parents did everything they could to not for me to be out, to be okay with being in a stage, and I definitely was that was not me.
Mm.
So I guess I'm neither one of them, because I mean I did learn to be a little bit of be able to express myself at least verbally, but not it doesn't come natural to me on that.
Mm.
Betty on the other side is actually it's even worse in that regards. I mean, like we actually, between us, believe it or not, we actually text each other more than sometimes we talk to each other.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, like verbal language is not as precise as words. I think that also like with technology, I mean, it's much easier to be a little more precise. You get to think a little bit. Even
Yeah.
though I know how fast people can do type and text. You still have a little bit of lag in between. Like, okay, I'm about to send this message. How does it read?
True.
So I'm able to kind of rehearse myself in my head before I actually send it out. When you're talking, like right now, I'm just blabbing and whatever. Yeah, it's probably not coming out as clear as I wanted to, because it's coming up in my mind and I'm just speaking up, so I don't have time to rehearse this out. I think that
True. True.
when you're writing it definitely gives you enough time to kind of be mindful of like the person that you're
Yeah.
about to get that message to. Say, how are they going to receive this? Are they going to really understand the point behind it? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, several books. I mean, I can think of like gosh, I mean, the one that I mean, have you read any books on the subject? I mean, like
I mean, I have one right here that I haven't read the whole thing. I've been just reading bits and pieces of it. It's by Jay Shetty. Do you know Jay Shetty?
no, no.
Right now he runs like a really popular like health and wellness podcast, and he talks about relationships a lot because he used to be a monk for 3 years, then he quit being a monk, and he met a woman and they married, and they're still married now, and so now like he usually writes books on relationships, and this book is called 8 Rules of Love, and basically it's about like practicing self-love first,
Yeah.
so you can share that with your partner instead of relying on her to complete you.
Yeah, that whole thing of you complete me stuff. I mean, that's so cliche to me now. Like I think that doesn't. I mean, that really only happens in the movies. I think. I think
It's
that you
so
have to be a whole self. You have to be a whole self,
right.
and because that's the only way that you can truly love somebody else is that if you gotta love yourself first. You
Yeah.
gotta be happy with yourself. If you're not, you're gonna make that other person. You're gonna pass all those insecurities to them. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah, I've definitely been doing that. So like at this point of my life now, I think this is like the most self-aware I've ever been. Like just right now, like more than a month ago. Like right now is the most self-aware I've been. But I can definitely see how in my past relationships I have been like subconsciously acting like that. Like even though I would say like no, I feel complete, but actually inside I didn't. But I didn't even know it really.
Yeah, yeah. And again, like I was telling you at first, it's a little bit of luck. It's sometimes you go to the coffee shop instead of going to the other, and you not have met that person, and you're gonna go, wow, what if I went left and I went right on this street? I would never met you. What did that happen?
Right.
So yeah, there is a little bit of luck, but also to also be paying attention, right? To be paying attention and
Yeah,
being now. Because I think that sometimes when we're in the past or we're in the future, we're making plans or we're trying to know what we like and what we dislike or what we're good at. You're not really truly paying attention to your
true.
surroundings, and that really does help out.
True. Theo, so
So
before we
cool.
go, we have like about
Yeah,
3 minutes left. Like,
yeah.
what do you think is the most important thing in a marriage?
I would say trust is one of those things that you cultivate in every day. It's just because you've been with somebody for X amount of time, it doesn't mean that you have to feed that. So trust is one of the things that I would say is very important. I would say that learning to deal with conflicts in a healthy
Mm,
way is also another thing that is it's a good skill to have to navigate once you have points in when somebody's difference become a burden, but understanding how to navigate conflicts is also really good, and being a good listener.
mhm.
Hey, it's interesting how much people are willing to share with you, um, and just because they're sharing something doesn't mean that they're trying. They need your help. They're just sharing with you. Sometimes it's like
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but to me, at first, I had the problem of like just jumping into the conclusion. It's like you're telling me this issue because you want me to help you fix it, and it's like no, actually, as a matter of fact, that's the least time. I mean, like people don't want, for the most part, they don't want you to help them with their problem. They just want to feel like somebody is connected to them as they're going
True.
through some struggle. And as you kind of go through that struggle together, I think that new things come out of the equation. You might not have resolved the problem, but you might have find something that is useful for both of you. So
Nice. And one last thing, what is your favorite thing about your wife?
her smile. Gosh, I
Nice.
can tell you that yeah, her eyes and her smile. Uh there's a lot of things she can tell me. Just we can have long conversations by just looking at each other.
Wow.
And that really it does it for me. Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot
It's
of people like I think that I do a good amount of posting on that, but I seriously, I mean, sometimes I'm just like taking picture of her, and I just see her looking back at me in a way that is just like she's happy, she's in the moment, and that really makes me happy. So yeah,
That's so
That-
mind-blowing that like that you guys felt this after having a kid.
yeah, I think that I think that again, right, like our personalities were where she was doing her thing, I was doing my thing, and every time that we got together to be with each other, you know, it wasn't that we were on top of each other. We realized that, we're like, oh man, you don't know how to cook. It's like, I know how to cook. It's like, you know how to do this, and it's like, yeah, and I'm terrible.